a couple of really basic use cases are things like budget pacing. So, for example, you could you give it what your budget is for the month, right? And it will tell you how you're pacing based on the date. It sounds simple, but what you can also do, so there are these things called tasks in ChatGPT, and that allows you to set up tasks within ChatGPT. I mean, it's what it sounds like, right? But what that means is that you can schedule things. So a lot of people use it for something like send a weekly report to my clients every Friday at 9 a.m. or send this message when this happens, for example. And they don't realize that you can actually use agent mode within these tasks.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Paid Search NYC podcast. Today, very excited to have a returning guest in Chris Chambers, who is the head of paid search at B2B marketing agency Understory. Chris is going to go through all things ChatGPT-5 today. So we're going to be going deep on agent mode, custom GPTs, and how you can use all these tools within paid search. So very excited to get into that. Chris, great to have you on again, and welcome.
Yeah, I really appreciate you having me on again. It's been a while and got some exciting things to share. I think it'll help some people out.
Yeah, definitely an exciting space. I know you've been pretty active on LinkedIn, showing resources and like how-tos and your kind of experience with these tools so far. So yeah, very excited to dive in. Maybe let's just go straight to it. The first question I have for you really as a starting point is, what is agent mode? Like, let's start there.
Yeah, so let me share my screen real quick and I'll give a little bit of visualization behind what I'm saying here. So for agent mode, it's something that you just toggle on in ChatGPT. And for the purpose of this, we'll make a new project. We'll just call it Paid Search NYC example, right? Create the project. And so this works within ChatGPT-5. And you can do this within regular chats as well. It doesn't have to be a project of any kind, but all you do is press this plus button, agent mode, and now it's on. And so what that actually does is you can ask it to do any function that you can think of pretty much, and it will open a browser within ChatGPT and actually be able to take action for you. So say you want it to, and this is just a very simple example, but you could tell it to run a Google search for the word paid search and give me the first URL on the search result page, right? And so we don't have to let it run through the whole thing, but when you type this in, you'll see that it comes up, it sets up its own desktop. And you can actually watch what it's doing. So it's doing this, and you can take over at any time as well if you want to manually control. Like if you're getting into an account, you might need a login, and it will prompt you to log in, and then it will go back to doing its own thing. So it's typing in paid search. It's going through, it tells you what it's doing as it goes. But basically that's what it does. So that's a very simple example that you can just have it Google search something for you. You could also say, for example, take this spreadsheet, and you could upload a spreadsheet to the chat and say, make this into a presentation for me in Google Slides. And what that will do is it will open the browser, it will open Google Slides on its own, and it will use the information from your file or from your spreadsheet, and it will turn that into a presentation in real time. So you can watch it do that. It's not always the quickest at what it does, but it will also run in the background. So you can have it kind of running as an extra employee if you want. You can also schedule tasks for it, which is a very useful function I found. For example, if you want a report on your KPIs every Friday at 9 a.m., you can just tell it when this agent mode is toggled on, send a report on KPIs for this account at 9 a.m. every Friday, and it will alert you. You can go to the chat and get that report. So what it's basically doing is it's an autonomous agent. It creates its own browser, and it's actually able to take action across any app and anything on the internet by itself. It's not just giving you answers.
Got it. And you've not sort of carried out any pre-technical steps within this. You've literally just, as you've just shown there, gone into your own instance ChatGPT, and there's no sort of pre-technical setup, I guess, is the question.
Exactly. It's as simple as pressing plus and turning on agent mode, and you're ready to go.
Yeah. And then for anything you need to log into, is it safe to assume that if you're already logged in, you kind of bypass that, or it doesn't necessarily work like that? You kind of always have to log in if there's a login step.
Yeah, if you're already logged in, so let's say I wanted it to do something in a Google Ads account or check something in a Google Ads account. If I already have that open, then it will just find that it's in my tabs already, and it will just open that up and I'm good to go. So it's only if I'm not logged into something already, and it will prompt me and it will stop and say, hey, I need your help with this. I need you to log in. And then as soon as you log in, it will take back over.
Huh, that's pretty cool. And are you the free plan or is it the paid plan?
This is the paid plan. So this is for our understory workspace. We have the pro version. I believe agent mode is only available on the paid version. I could be wrong about that, but I believe it's only on the paid version. It doesn't have to be for a whole workspace though. I believe it's on the, what is their price point? $20 a month now. So you can have it on your own single pro as well. But yeah, it's as simple as that. And you can hook it to all kinds of different sources and APIs and do more complex things. But turning on just agent mode and having it act autonomously is as simple as hitting that toggle button.
That's cool. I'd love to get into some sort of basic examples. Is it fair to say before we dive into that most of the examples are account based? So it's going into the account to pull data and analyze and kind of do that in account workflow, or is it actually there's a big portion which is outside of Google Ads? Maybe actually you get the example there of like Google Slides. Yeah, I'm interested to know like what's kind of the split in terms of the platforms that you kind of use this for the most.
So I'd say maybe a 50-50 split if we're talking about in-platform Google Ads versus anything else. I do use it inside of Google Ads a lot, but it's typically in conjunction with other things, right? So I might have it analyze or create a report. Like I'll feed it the context of what our KPIs are and have it trend them over the month. And make a slide deck out of that or make a spreadsheet out of it. So it's kind of using multiple tools and not just in the UI. But for paid search specifically, yeah, I'd say it's probably about 50-50 of how I use it.
Got it. Yeah, my mind's already going to things like the PMAX channel reporting, which you can't like segment by day. And so being able to like let it go in and change the date range, download. Can it do that? Can it like click on download buttons and it comes sort of downloaded to your laptop? Okay, nice. That's very cool.
Yeah, it can do anything a human can do, and possibly more because it can get inside of code and do things as well. That's not necessarily applicable to Google Ads, but anything that you can do in the Google Ads UI, it can do as well. So it can press any button, it can download anything, create any reports, anything that you'd like it to do.
Nice. Yeah, that's very cool. Okay. Should we jump into some basic examples?
Yeah, for sure. So let's see. I'll just list a couple and then I'll put one in as an example to show. So a couple of really basic use cases are things like budget pacing. So for example, you could, you give it what your budget is for the month, right? And it will tell you how you're pacing based on the date. It sounds simple, but what you can also do, so there are these things called tasks in ChatGPT, and that allows you to set up tasks within ChatGPT. I mean, it's what it sounds like, right? But what that means is that you can schedule things. So a lot of people use it for something like send a weekly report to my clients every Friday at 9 a.m. or send this message when this happens, for example. And they don't realize that you can actually use agent mode within these tasks. And so that budget pacing, it's one thing to use it and just use it one time to see how you're pacing. But really, I mean, realistically, you could check that yourself faster probably than agent mode can, right? But what you could have it do is you could tell it, like I could type in, let's see, set a task to check the budget pacing for, example, account every Friday at 9 a.m. and email me the results. And so it will check the budget pacing because I did this inside of a project. So it's really important with this agent mode. You can make projects in ChatGPT and you can use agent mode inside of them. So I can upload all of the KPIs for a client's account. I can upload call transcripts. I can upload the budget and all of that sort of things so that it actually knows and it's not just giving generic advice. And then when I do this, it will email me at 9 a.m. every Friday and tell me how we're pacing. I mean, really for budget pacing, maybe you want that every day or however, but you can do that with any type of analysis. So you could also say, email me every Friday or just message me in this chat and notify me on my computer once a week and tell me how my brand search impression share is doing. And it will do that for you in the background. And you don't have to open ChatGPT and make sure it's doing it. It's going to send you a notification. It does it in the background, whether you have it open or not.
That's pretty incredible. When you're setting up that task for the first time, do you have to, so if you press go now, do you have to like watch it do that task to be able to almost like approve and be like, yeah, this is good to go as a recurring thing? Or how do you sort of build that?
Yeah, so the way I would suggest doing it is doing it first as not setting it up as a task. Just have it do it one time. And then you can see, like, is the output actually how I want? Typically, I'll put the output and tell it really specifically what I want the output to be, because the more specific with it, the more context you give it, the faster it will be, but also the better outputs you're going to get. So generally what I'll do in setting up tasks is have it run one time and then see how it does. And then I can get my prompt down. And so once that's down pat and really how I want it to be, then I set the task and I know that it's going to do it correctly. Because it also learns from itself. So it will learn from its old mistakes. And once it's run through it a couple times, it will be much faster. It will give you the output that you're actually looking for. So yeah, I would definitely run it at least once or twice, figure out which prompt gets it to give you the output that you're looking for, and then set it as a task.
Got it. That makes sense. And then how does that appear as a task that then runs in here? Is it almost just exists as like its own separate chat, and that's how you kind of get back to it and maybe tweak or turn it off or turn it back on?
Yeah, so it will, you can just communicate with it in plain language. So you can just tell it, stop doing this task. And I believe there's somewhere in the settings that will tell you all the tasks that you have running. Generally what it will do, unless you specify, so like I had it before send me an email, I would have to give it context of what my email is. And what I do when I build these projects is I have a whole sheet of my information. And so I can just say, send me the email, it knows who I am, and it will do that. Otherwise, you'd have to be more specific. But I could say this and just send me the results in this chat and notify me. And then you can just check the chat and it will be there. And it will also notify you. You can have it email you. If you integrate it with Slack, you could have it send you a Slack message with the results as well, or send it to the client. So there's a lot of different options that you can do with these tasks you can set. And like I said, it can do anything that you can do on the internet, the agent can do as well. So you can have it do it on a recurring schedule. And it's sort of like having an extra, virtual assistant or executive assistant that will do these things for you, or Google Ads specialist, really, because it can do a lot of analysis for you when it has the right context.
Yeah, that's really incredible. And the ability to then integrate it with other actual human chat groups without Slack or Google Workspace is very cool. Because I'm assuming once you do that, you can almost then not just receive, but potentially pass back instructions, or is that like there's a level of integration needed that's sort of beyond this?
You'd probably have to set up some kind of flow with N8N or Make or Zapier to be able to send back instructions. And there are people that have created like MCP servers that make it to where you can just chat with that and it will chat between apps and send that kind of thing. But in this more basic mode of just straight up agent mode, you'll have to go into the chat to make the changes.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. And then I was literally about to ask, what's in the sources?
Yeah. Great minds think alike. So web search is on by default. That just means it's allowed to search the web to do things, which is necessary really for agent mode. But you can also connect it with, these are the options that it gives you, but there are a lot more of them. So like you can connect your Gmail, you can connect Dropbox, Canva, because you could also have it do things like create this image and send it to Canva and alert my designer every whatever. And so you could have it analyze your current creative that's running in the account and say, find the creative with the best click-through rate, copy that, make changes based on current best practices and based on the other creatives that are doing well. Like maybe the call to action on one is doing better, but the rest of the image is doing better on another. Send that to Canva and go ahead and make those changes for me. And then Agent Mode will be able to do that for you. So it can actually make changes inside of Canva as well and integrate with it and pull your files.
That's awesome. Yeah, very cool. And that Gmail integration, is that needed for it to fulfill that request of emailing you, or is there some sort of already built-in ability for it to just send an email?
So I believe it'll be able to send the email without it, but what that'll do is it will let me it'll be able to see my emails. So I could say like it's really, I mean, with Agent Mode, otherwise it will have to open Gmail and it can do that and look through your emails and make replies and things like that. But if it's integrated as a source, so if I connect this as a source, then I could just say, check the last email sent to me from Matt Shenton and draft a reply in my voice to him based on what he said. And it will be able to open that without Agent Mode having to go through all of the kind of like rigmarole of having to open Gmail and find it and all of that. It will just be able to pull it straight in through the source and speeds things up a lot.
Got it. So one way to think about those sources is almost like a direct API integration outside of Agent Mode, which is just way more efficient, quicker. Because I guess we'll get into this and we kind of saw it already, but Agent Mode does take a bit of time to run, essentially.
Yeah. And it applies, so it applies to Agent Mode and you can connect a lot of different things. So like for Dropbox, it's the same thing, right? So Agent Mode on its own could open Dropbox and look for everything. But if you just connect it, you could say the latest file for X client, open that for me and do this. And it'll be able to find it much quicker and either analyze it or make changes to it if that's what you want it to do. And same with all of these connections.
Yeah, got it. Okay, cool. So we've got that budget pacing example. What are the basic or maybe intermediate examples are there?
Yeah, so I'd say, let's see here. I'll put it in here so our viewers can kind of see what I'm talking about here. So what this will do is it'll set up a task, as it says, to run every Friday at 9 a.m. and run Agent Mode to report the results to me. So what it's going to do and what the rest of this prompt says is it will check the Ad Transparency Center. So where you can see all of your competitor ads and see what they're running. It will check the Ad Transparency Center for the competitor's ads for whichever account I tell it. And it will also run Google searches for our keywords to see who is currently showing up and what combinations of copy. And I have in here to use valentine.app. That's a different website. It's really cool. It allows you to set whatever geo you want without using a VPN. And so I have it to where an Agent Mode will be able to find that website and use it. So it will actually use that and it will run a bunch of Google searches. Like I can specify run 50 or run 100 and run them from 100 different locations, and it will run them from all over the US or all over the UK or different countries, depending on what markets we're serving. And then it will, and this is on a schedule, right? So it will do all of that, check the Transparency Center for what competitors are running right now. It will see what's actually showing up on the search results page from different geos, and then put those results into the chat for me and a Google Doc as well. I could also put a Google Sheet, and then it's also going to check the auction insights for the keywords that it's searching and build out a timeline of changes for both the competitor copies, so what they've been changing, because it will have a running record if it's doing this on a recurring schedule. So it will build out a timeline of how the competitors have been changing their copy and also a timeline of our auction insights against them.
Wow. Okay. That's
yeah.
I mean, that's
a lot of things.
The whole list. Yeah. And how does that work? Like, does it do a pretty good job?
Yeah. So for this example prompts, I had to cut some things out because you need to give it more context for the actual client. But yeah, it will do it really well. And then the more it does it, the better it gets, as I said earlier, from memory. And it's part of also why I created that new project in the beginning, because what we'll do is create one for each client. So we'll have a different project for each client. And that allows you to, Agent Mode can not only see what we've talked about in previous chats, and if it's calculated things for me, if it's made documents or given strategic advice, gone back and forth, it can see all of that. But we can also upload files. So we can upload the budget sheets, the KPIs, onboarding forms, ICP lists, things like that. And we'll have full context. And that speeds things up a lot. And so when I say just check for the competitors' ads, it will know what the competitors' ads are, because that's uploaded as part of our onboarding form and as part of the context that we've given to the project. So the more context that you feed it in the first place, and the more legwork you do when you're building the project to build up context, then you can make your prompts a lot simpler. And you don't have to make every single prompt like super, super specific, because it's going to know all of this stuff already.
Yeah, that is a really smart setup. Makes a lot of sense. I guess, how did you ever run into problems where, even if it has all that context, that the workflow you're giving it is complicated to the point where it's better to sort of chunk it up a little bit? I'm thinking like there are certain automations you use, whether it's like LLMs or even like NA10 type stuff, where you do have to like break it down into like its elements to make it really work. Otherwise, if it tries to do everything, it kind of, it's not as effective. Do you find that here as well? And if so, then how do you chunk it up?
Yeah, for sure. So I kind of use this one as an example. And as you point out, it's a really big, like, entire workflow here, right? And it's really doing multiple different things and combining them. So what I would suggest doing in the real world, especially before it's learned how to do all of these things quickly, because it'll get quicker and it'll get better. But yeah, I would chunk it up first and have it do like this part, check the ad transparency center for competitors' ads, and then put those into a sheet for me and rank them, or show a timeline over time of how they've been changing, and running the Google searches, and do those as separate tasks, and then have a task set later in the day to combine them all. So then say, okay, combine the sheets that these are all going to, combine these outputs into one thing. And that way it's doing it separately, and there's a lot less chance of something breaking along the way, because it's more just simple workflows, and then they're all coming together at the end. Because otherwise it might get confused as it goes along, because this is having it do a lot of different things and using a lot of different apps, a lot of different websites. So yeah, if you chunk it up, and you can just tell each prompt, use the chat from, or use this task, or use this chat's output, and combine it with this one for the end result, and then just send me that end result instead of having it send you each chunk. So it can do the workflow, and then the final step will be actually putting it all together, and it makes it a lot easier for it.
Yeah, I imagine that's also just, it helps with troubleshooting and maybe improving individual part of that process, because you can just go into that part and like talk to it, refine. How do you then refer to other chats or tasks? Is it like a naming? Like how do you basically get those?
So you can just talk to it in plain language and say, I think there's I'm honestly not sure, but I think there's a place that you can check and see where all of your tasks are. I've always just talked to it in plain language and just said, the task that's running to check ad transparency center, do X with it, or like check through the chat. That's another reason I keep it all contained within one project, if it's for one client, or if it's for internal use, or for one project that we're doing internally, whatever it may be. I try to keep it self-contained, because it makes it really easy for agent mode to find. And that way, and you can always just ask it also and say, what are all the tasks I have set up? And have it listed that way.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Any other examples?
See, so another one, and this one is a little bit outside of paid search, I guess, but definitely applicable to what we do, and applicable to any agency, and I suppose company. This is not really a ready to go prompt, just an example of what it would be. So you can upload your action item list. And what we do is we upload call transcripts as we go. So if we have a call, Fireflies records, we upload the PDF and it has full context, right? So it knows the action items and what needs to be done. You can also have it check, or you can connect it with API to something like ClickUp, which is what we use, and then have it check the change history of Google Ads and make sure that those things were done. So if there's something that would show up in change history, such as maybe an action item is we need to launch this new search campaign, it will check that. And if you do it as a task, it will do that on a recurring basis. So at the end of every week, you can see have all these action items actually been done and were they done correctly? And so you could combine that with other tasks that are like, okay, if this was done and the output was yes, the action items are corrected or are completed, was it done correctly? Are the UTM set up correctly? Are the ads set up correctly? Are they to our best practices? So you can combine and kind of hook a lot of different things together. I think using something like Innate for workflows for that is probably the optimal way to do it. But just doing this is really, really helpful, I've found, to make sure that nothing falls through the cracks. So it can check your ClickUp, it can check your project management system, or if you just upload an action item list, right, it can just be a doc that you give it, or just tell it in plain language in chat, and it will check the change history in Google Ads and make sure that those things have been completed.
Yeah, I mean, that's also incredible. And I think even just those two examples you've shown, it just illustrates that really the limit is your own ability to understand what a process involves, and that feels like the limiter at this point. Is that fair? Like the skill really you need right now is like, can you take a process and like chunk it up, or understand how to explain it in plain language? Is that the limiter, or is there other things within this that it doesn't do well, or kind of struggles with?
Yeah, I mean, I would say this is a limiter for pretty much everything with AI nowadays, including things like vibe coding, right? It's like, do you know how to actually put it into plain language and break these things down for these tools to use? I mean, when you get really advanced with it, especially with things like vibe coding, you do need to actually start learning JSON, and you need to learn how to make like Google Cloud servers and things like that. So it can be more advanced, but I would say really the limiter, especially for agent mode, is just can you put it into plain language? And it's a good practice too, right? To be able to put processes into plain language, because that's part of our job, right? Is to be able to explain things and break them down into steps.
Yeah, exactly. So is there any process you've tried to do in here that it hasn't been able to do?
So the very first time I used it, and I think this is what my first post about it was, I was pretty ambitious with it. And I said, the prompt was something like, analyze this Google Ads account and give me a list of like 50 things that I need to improve, and use the date range of the past 90 days. And it took it about 15 minutes just to get to the 90-day part of it. And agent mode has improved since then. That was only a month, maybe 2 months ago. But I found, and that's when I found that you really need to give it as much context as possible. So I think that if you try to reach too far, you'll find that it is capable of doing these things, but you have to remember that it doesn't know everything that you know unless you tell it, right? So it doesn't have all the context for everything. Like if you try to just tell it, like if I told it right now, go into this Google Ads account and give me the top 5 recommendations, it doesn't actually know the strategy unless I've uploaded to this project. So it might see something like, oh, this campaign is 50% limited by budget, we should increase the budget, which sounds like normal Google recommendations, right? Because it gets very generic and it doesn't know that, oh, we're doing this on purpose, this is within budget. Or it might say like, these ads were performing great, they had tons of conversions, we should turn this campaign back on, but that's because you didn't give it the information that those leads were all junk, right? So I think that that's really kind of the problem with it, is that you need to give it as much context as possible. And it really, really relies on that, or you're going to get generic outputs. So you really kind of get out of it what you put into it.
Got it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So that kind of improves the accuracy of or the quality of the output. I'm wondering if one way to think about how successful you are in terms of taking a task and putting it in here is to think about like, how long does it take you as a human? Like if you can do this task in a couple of minutes, like it's probably going to be able to handle it because the workflow is relatively straightforward. But that example you gave there of an account audit, I mean, we could spend hours doing an account audit. And so the agent mode still has to go in there and actually navigate an account. And obviously, if that's a complex account, it's going to have to go into lots of different places. It would take you hours as a human. As an agent, it's going to really struggle to work through that effectively. So I wonder if that's like a way to think about where you're going to have success with it or not.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you try to give it very general tasks to do that are very big tasks, it's going to struggle a lot with it. And it ends up struggling with the small things, like just changing date ranges. So it's better, I think, to keep it directed. And like you said, to think about it in terms of time. Like if it's something that you can do very quickly on your own, then there's no point in building out some kind of super complex flow if it takes you 10 seconds to do it anyway. It's like just because you can doesn't mean that you should, right?
Yeah, it's so interesting because it's almost like this is it doesn't feel like a brand new specific skill, but it's like a skill that is somewhat new in that it's a combination of lots of other skills. It's being able to understand the process to the point where you can like break it down and chunk it up, understanding the context you need to sort of improve the output. And then also like the technical side of like, well, I know this is easy, but from a technical point of view, the agent could struggle. So this would add some complexity to the task. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely a learned skill. It's definitely a skill of its own. And I would say for people to learn it, the best way is just to give it a try and just test it out and see what outputs you get, see what it can do, and test it out for yourself, and make as many use cases as you can that work for you. So, and I think that's why I've been mentioning so much the tasks that you can set and that it will do on a regular schedule behind the scenes, because you might not want to have it do it and just sit there and watch it do it, right? But if it can deliver it every Friday and it's reliable and it does this, and once you have the prompt down, then it's great. So it's great to think more of it as like a virtual assistant than a strategist, or as something that can really take a lot of serious action.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a useful way of putting it. That scheduling is really powerful. Okay, cool. Before we jump into the next section, which is GPT library, I'm interested to know from you, like, what would you want this to evolve into next? Like, is there a place this evolves to beyond where it is today, or do you think it's already kind of as powerful as it needs to be?
Yeah, I mean, the main pain point for me is the speed. Not so much the accuracy, but the speed. And that's why I say that it's better as like a virtual assistant than an actual strategist, because it will get to the correct answer, but it might take a while. But so I think what it needs and what I would like to see from it are better guardrails and better ability to kind of create context on its own, that a human would know just intrinsically, because it might make a mistake like changing a budget, and then it will realize it and change it back, but the damage has been done, right? And so that's kind of what I would like to see, is better guardrails, and just better speed with what it can do. So I think it being able to, I mean, these LLMs have so much context from human history, human language. I think if they use all of that into agent mode and it had all this intrinsic context, it would work a lot better. So to sum that up, I think that what I'd really like to see from it is it become faster and have better guardrails so it can be a reliable operator and not just an analyzer.
Yeah. I wonder if just in that Google Ads example, you could just have another login, which is view only, and you just log in using that.
Exactly. Well, that's what I do. That's actually exactly what I do. So we create a login and make it view only for our MCC or for client accounts. And that way it cannot make mistakes, even if it wants to, right? So it can analyze things, it can create reports, but it can't delete your campaign or something. And if it's on standard or admin, it certainly can do that, and it will do that occasionally. So that's why I say it does need better guardrails, but that's a good solution to it, is just giving it guardrails yourself.
Yeah, it feels like out there somebody has made that mistake, and they run error, and I feel really bad for that person, because that's not a good place to be. Yeah, you've got to be careful with this stuff.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, and then who do you put the blame on, right? It's like, oh, the robot did it, but you told the bot to do it, so maybe you shouldn't do it. But yeah, I would say for sure, make sure that it's on an account that's read only, because otherwise you don't know for sure what it's going to do while it's trying to figure things out. So always have it read only, always make those guardrails yourself until they have it in a place that, that it can do it on its own.
Yep. Okay, awesome. That was really, really cool. Very interesting. Definitely have a play around with that more. Let's chat about GPT libraries.
Yeah, for sure. So to get to GPT, and I mean, for a quick intro for people that don't know, the GPT library is accessible to anyone using ChatGPT, and it's custom GPTs that are already made. So you don't have to make your own. And I would suggest always searching for it first when you have an idea for a custom GPT, because there's a really good chance someone's already made one and it might be better than the one that you're going to make. And so before you put all the time into making it, I would definitely check it out. So to get to that, my sidebar here, and you just go to GPTs. And so you can see here, we have some that are built by our team. So we have some that do like copywriting and research and things like that. I've made one for budget forecasting. But as you can see, just as I scroll through here, there are all kinds of different ones, right? Like there's one for astrology birth charts. So there's stuff for like anything you want, fitness, workout, diet, all kinds of different things. So it's not just for business. I mean, you could use it for everyday things if you want, but that's why I say that if you have a chat or if you have a custom GPT idea, there's a good chance it's already made. So you can type anything you want. So like, let's say we're looking for something related to paid search. You just type in paid search and it's going to give you all these different results, right? And you can see these numbers here if they've been reviewed. So like this one will make what it says high converting ad copy. Some of them are just copywriters. Some of them are strategists. There are all kinds of different things in here, right? So a few of them that I like are, let's see, this one, this data analyst built by ChatGPT is really nice. So it typically can analyze data a lot better than just the natural chat, the ChatGPT. It doesn't let you see what the back end and what the instructions are that they gave it. But like if you need to analyze a spreadsheet and have it turn that into visuals, I would say use this GPT or one like it. It just works much better than the regular ones. There are all kinds of things in here. There's some that are just for fun, like this one Monday, a personality experiment. You may not like it. It may not like you. I have no idea what that means, but you know, there's all kinds of different stuff. Like there's stuff people have made for fun. There's stuff people have made for jokes. But there are a lot that are really good for work, for productivity, and for coaching too. So like this one will review your writing and give you feedback. And there are ones like that for paid search and for marketing as well. It will review your strategy. It will help coach you. It can help coach you on sales and things like that. And there are all kinds of different ones.
Yeah.
Have you played around with these at all yourself, Matt?
A little bit, yeah. And the question I have is how do you then link these together? So like we just talked about agent mode and kind of that being like a virtual assistant. It feels like now this is adding on like the sort of experience in terms of the person, if we're going to compare it to a person. So how do you kind of link these together? Like, is it then an N8N where you're kind of linking different GPTs to kind of bring this all together?
So as far as I know, you cannot do that actually. They're pretty self-contained, which can be really limiting. I mean, you can get the output and then give it to another one, but without something like N8N and without using like your API key from OpenAI in that flow, it's not going to be able to send things and really use them together. So they're pretty self-contained in that way, which is a negative against them, I would say.
Yeah. So would you say the way you use most of these is you're using them in isolation? You have a task, you're communicating with it, you're getting an output.
Exactly. Yeah. So they're not really built to be like entire workflows or to be steps in a workflow. at least not in an automated way. It's more to do very specific things and get very specific outputs.
Yeah, got it. I'm interested to just do a bit of a live test of the one that popped up when you searched paid search. That was one of the AI managers or the paid search strategists. I wonder if we could ask that a few questions.
Yeah, let's see how this one does. I found this one earlier. I've not tested it yet. But so expert in optimizing paid search strategies. Let's see. So it will include responsive search ads. So I suppose it can also write. See, let's start. Let's see what it gives us.
And actually, just a question on that. If someone builds these GPTs, can they see what you're asking it? Like, do they get the content you're putting in?
No, they cannot. So I've actually built a few myself, and I have one that's public that that a few hundred people have used. It's for forecasting a monthly budget. You give it the keywords and the volume and CPCs, and it'll make a forecast for you. And so what I can see on my side is how many conversations have been had with it, but I can't actually look into those conversations and see. So their data is safe. I don't know if there's some setting or some way that people could see it, but as far as I know, there's not. Like, I can't see what people have been talking with mine about.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, if you're able to publicly create these GPTs, like anyone can do that, then it makes sense that all that data is private.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What's this one saying then? So, okay, it wants a little bit of information from us. I kind of have like one specific question I kind of want to start off with, which is, it's a bit of a softball, but like, I'm wondering what it would say about like a new feature, like maybe smart bidding exploration. Like what's its view on that, and like when would it recommend using it?
Account. Let's contact. Setting this so it won't try to prompt me again for all this. It's more that they did this so that it gives you the context. He said, so like what type of campaign to use the smart bidding target expansion on?
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's see if it'll give us an answer here.
Okay, so I feel like the what is, that's easy because it can take that from anywhere.
Yeah, and it looks like this is talking about audience expansion. Target expansion built in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it may not be updated. That's the other thing with custom GPTs is you need to keep them updated or they'll lag behind like this. So I could say like, what I meant was the new feature to expand your strategy. But also say that, the performance of one of these isn't really indicative of all of them. Exploration. Okay, here we go. And so when you're looking through these GPTs, I would say definitely test them out because there are going to be good ones and there are going to be bad ones, right? Like there are thousands and thousands of different ones.
Yeah.
So let's see. It is, that's a bit more aggressively, it predicts. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I mean, as you said, it kind of seems like things that are more like it can find in support, but I mean, this is a good one. This is, stable, mature campaign. Make sure that you have performance to compare it to, not budget capped, so that it will actually be able to do that exploration.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of like the table and the way it's laid that out there. That's pretty good. Yeah, I feel like these kind of AI manager, paid search manager ones are not really the ones people are going to be using so much. It's more the specific tasks because obviously they've been refined to a much greater degree. So I'm being a bit unfair with the GPTs in this example, but I was just curious.
Yeah, I think ones that are like what I use it for sometimes is copy. And we have one that's in-house that we've made for writing copy because the regular chat tends to get character limits wrong all the time. It struggles with that really bad. And so we've made a custom GPT that's built on highest performing creative and copy from different accounts, from different verticals. So we can give it context of kind of what the vertical is that we're in, what the keywords are going to be, and then it will give us like value props, outcomes, social proof, those kind of things, and it will group them by the copy. So again, I think a lot of these custom GPTs are best for really specific use cases and specific outputs like that. Not so much as part of a big workflow, but there are thousands of them. So like you saw with the astrology birth chart one, right? Like there's something for everybody in here, even if it's not for paid search.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it comes back to the same thing we were just saying about agents, like being able to understand the process, chunk it up, and then it's like, okay, now I need a custom GPT for this particular part of that process because this is very specific. It's, if you compare it to a human, it would almost be like this is a specific skill set. I guess this is also new. And it sounds like we may get to a place where you can kind of start connecting agents and GPTs, because then within the agent, you move away from you've got those different segmented tasks, but then the tasks go to specific GPTs, and then you have that additional context. Then this starts to become really powerful.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I haven't tested that, but I do wonder if, I suppose agent mode could do that. It could open ChatGPT and use different custom GPTs and then take its output from that and give it to you. So it might be able to string them together like that. Just on it.
Yeah.
Since it can do anything that we can do within ChatGPT. So I suppose it can do that as well.
Yeah, that's terrifying when you say it like that.
Yeah, it is. It's scary, but I think I don't know. I think it's exciting more so than scary when it comes to the paid search world, because like you said earlier, it's just a different skill set, but it's still without context. These tools can't really do a whole lot that's useful beyond very generic outputs, just changing quickly. But I think that the agencies, I think that the strategists, specialists that are going to survive as these AI tools keep getting better are going to be the ones that learn how to use them the best and implement them from the ground up. We see so many agencies trying to kind of scramble to get their old processes now AI powered, and same with brands. And I think the ones that are starting now actually have an advantage over older agencies because they're starting with all of these tools and familiarity. So they can start their processes from scratch with all these AI tools and workflows and tasks and have everything as automated as possible. And I know that's been like at Understory, we've done a lot of that, a lot of automation with AI and for our processes, and it's changed everything for us. And so I'm sure that people starting now, we've been around for a couple of years. I'm sure people starting now can automate basically everything.
Yeah. It's a huge advantage to be able to have this as like your foundational workflow from day one. Like you don't need to change anybody's existing behavior. You don't need to reinvent old processes. If you're brand new or small enough, then yeah. And that feels like an incredible advantage right now, because you're potentially going to run rings around people. If you can really develop like workflows that really save time, other businesses are just, there's a cost involved there that's much higher than, it's such a huge advantage.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and just the advances in the past couple of years, even the past 6 months in the past year have been so huge that I think in a couple of years from now, everything will be pretty much automated. But yeah, we've done so much with processes with AI and automations that nowadays, like, I almost feel like I couldn't live without it, which is scary because I think people that are just getting into Google Ads and paid search and into marketing now, I feel like they're really never going to learn a lot of the skills that we learned coming up because they don't have to, because they have these AI tools.
Yeah, it's interesting because right now I think you need to know both, but it's whether we get to a place where you need to know this. Tough one to call. I don't want to call it.
Yeah. I don't know where it's going to end up, but I mean, I do think that there's always going to be a place for humans until they just develop some kind of super Gen AI. But I think the people that are actually using it and staying on top of it and not just using it like very basic ChatGPT chat, I think the people that are using it beyond that are going to be the ones that are going to come out on top and survive.
Yeah. Cool. Well, this is great. Really enjoyable. I'm definitely going to go around and play with some GPTs and agent mode. I guess to try and summarize a little bit, the key recommendation is like just to test this stuff. Just try it. Get used to building stuff, how it works for you, how it doesn't work. Make sure you've got those guardrails in place, especially agent mode if you are going into account read only. Chunking up processes, there's usually an advantage to that, and you get better output if you're able to look at a process, chunk it up, and maybe there's some custom GPTs involved there for specific parts of that process. And then the last thing was the context piece. Like in those projects, bringing in all the client data and like additional project data to really like give it that context really lifts up the quality of the output. I think that's like a huge call out as well.
Yeah. I think that's a great summary, and I think that last point is maybe the biggest, really. Because all these AI tools rely so much on context. And if you're feeding it that, then there's so much less manual work you need to do because your AI tools have all of your context. And then they can take action for you. They can build out processes for you. Just almost nothing needs to be manual nowadays if you test it and play around with it enough.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man. Always good to see you.